Hey guys, Prowl 1701 here, and today we are doing a Patreon request for Alice. Alice is one of my mid-tier patrons, and she very seldom asks for actual requests, but I know she likes when I do reviews on stories, which with all the First Doctor stuff I've been sent lately, I'm sure she's been enjoying those. But she also likes when I watch reconstructions and do reviews on some of the reconstructions. And so since she doesn't really ask for requests often, I kind of just treat it as a passive thing that her unspoken request is for like a reconstruction review. So every now and then I like to do one of those, just to let her know I appreciate her support. And so I decided to watch the reconstruction of the Macra, which turns out I'd watched before. I didn't realize that. I watched it back when the Steelbook first came out, the Deep Blu-ray, and had smooth forgotten about it, but I recognized some of the stuff as I was watching it. I like the reconstruction of the Macra. I do very much enjoy the Macra. I love the animation. I've talked about that before. The animation for the Macra is one of my favorite animations. And I like the reconstruction as well. It's easy to follow. Like, I always listen to reconstructions with the narration off. I just like the original audio. I don't like linking narration. But this one has, like, text will come up on screen to tell you what's happening, to make sure you don't have trouble following along. It's nice that there is some little bits of surviving footage in there. It's not a lot, but it's nice when it pops up. So you can see a little bit of that. This is the best way to experience a story that's as closest to the original production as you can get. Now, I prefer the animation. I do prefer the animation. I love the animation. I love most of the liberties they took with the animation. But this is the closest we can get to experiencing the story the way it was originally done. And I like some of the things better here than the decisions they made in the animation. Like, in the animation, when the gas is pouring out on Jamie, Ben, and Polly, they're all in a room together. But it looks like in the reconstruction, Polly had her own room, while Ben and Jamie were in another room, separating the boys and the girls, which makes sense for a 60s TV show. And a colony like that makes way more sense. And so it's a little jarring when you're watching the animation. They're all in the same room, and the doctor's spending all that time focusing on Polly, and then like, wait, Ben and Jamie. When in the animation, they're right next to him. It makes way more sense in the reconstruction when they're in different rooms. I also don't like in the animation how it's this giant vent he just breaks with a screwdriver. He just reaches over and pops this giant vent. I mean, if I was going to bed in a room and there's like a giant hole vent here, I'd be a little suspicious, like, what's this for? It's for ventilation. What are you ventilating? Whereas in the animation, it's hidden in the wall. It's these little two dots in part of the little horizontal line that runs through. And instead of using the screwdriver, the doctor just hits it with a piece of wire. A piece of wire I believe he actually gets out of Polly's purse, which sounds very Second Doctor, just, I need some wire, I'll just take some right here. And he does it by breaking it that way. He does it there, and when he breaks it in the pilot's control room. And to me, that just feels better for the story, that the gas would be hidden like that, and that the doctor would take a piece of wire and just break it. I like that better. That's one thing about the animation that never quite sat well with me. I do prefer in the animation when the doctor's working out that formula and giving himself an 11 out of 10. I like that he does it on that clear board with the chalk, and you can see it in the animation. You can see through it. I like that. Whereas in the original production, of course, it was just a regular chalkboard with chalk, which does feel very Second Doctor, but something about that scene with the clear one in the animation I do like better. Now, of course, the biggest difference, if there is a biggest difference, would be the Macra themselves, because they have been reimagined a lot for the animation. But I enjoy watching the reconstruction, because this story does have a very 50s B-movie, giant ant, spider, etc., crab, whatever, feel to it. It does feel like a B plot, like a little filler story. My mom always loved those old horror movies, or still loves. My mother's still around. She just had a birthday the other day, actually. She likes them, those old black and white movies with giant ants, giant crabs, giant spiders. She loves those things. And this very much feels like one of those. It's obviously a stage prop. It's obviously they're having to try to act around this thing. I mean, the actual Macra in the original production are notoriously terrible. And you can see it here with their eyes that look like light bulbs that flash. One of the surviving clips is Polly struggling in one of them's grips, and you can tell it's just Anna having to act like she's struggling and scream with it. But it gives it a different feel, that kind of B-movie 50s feel, which is fun. You can have fun with that, and I enjoyed that. So whenever you see the props, it does have a very different feel to it, to the animation, because the animation to me is creepier and more atmospheric in places because of the liberties they take with the animation, which I love. This one's a little more, again, B-movie 50s, B-50s movie, and I like that. It's fun. You can enjoy that. You can have fun with that. So it has a very different feel for that. The scene when Jamie escapes from the forbidden area, I don't like in the animation how he takes an elevator, because, like, no one ever thinks to use this elevator. I like it better in the original version where it's like an old shaft he finds that, like, leads up into a secret entrance in a cabinet, and he just comes out of the cabinet in the back of the room where they're doing the little cheering. I like the idea that that would be a hidden entrance most people wouldn't know about, instead of an elevator right there where anybody can stumble onto it. So I prefer that in the reconstruction as well. But yeah, I enjoyed the reconstruction. Every now and then it looks like they use a photo from a different story. Like I saw one that looked like Troughton from the Ice Warriors, just the look on his face because he was thinking. And there's never a time when a photo isn't appropriate, but it just seemed like it was from a different story. And sometimes they reuse shots, but it's always fitting for the scene. Like there's one of what is his name, Mercor or whatever, the guy who's actually trying to warn them that the Macra are there. Melcott Mercor, begins with an M. Where there's a shot they use of him a lot where he's kind of, but it always fits with what's going on in the scene, and that's fine. And I like him as a character. I really like him. Go on and have your fun before they crawl all over you. I love that bit. The actor playing him does a really good job. Just going by the telesnaps and going by his voice in the audio work, his voice, he does a really good job. I really like the actor playing him, and I really like his character because he is just trying to warn people, and he seems like a good guy. And there's even a couple times where he has the doctor's back when he's like, well, the doctor just came to try to make me give myself up. Yeah, that's all. So he's kind of watching out for the doctor so the doctor doesn't get in trouble, and even he's like, doctor, you need to be the supervisor. Well, I don't want to. You need to be the supervisor. Okay, I'll be the supervisor. And then, of course, he goes after Jamie when Jamie goes in the room to try to help Jamie. So I was always kind of sad when he dies because I really liked him as a character. He just seemed like a good person. I do like the animation better how he dies because in the original production, Jamie stumbles on his body. And, of course, he's been killed by the Macra. I like it better in the animation when Jamie only finds his goggles. I mean, you know he's probably dead, but there's something more creepy about the fact his body is gone and it's just his goggles being there. It just adds to the creep factor, and I like that better. That and the animation of Olar, I think is his name, the kind of chubby security guy. I've never liked the animated model of him. It looks like the guy who's playing him, but just for some reason the animation model never worked for me. I like better in the reconstruction. Something about him just looks a little more, regal's not the right word, but he does look like someone who has a position of authority but feels like he thinks more of it than it really is. The actual photos of him pull that off well, whereas the animation doesn't quite do that. So the Macra, I liked the reconstruction. I very much enjoyed it. I do prefer the animation, but there are some things about the original production, like I've mentioned, that I do prefer seeing in the reconstruction. The reconstruction is definitely worth watching just to see some of the changes they made. Plus, it's kind of nice having the rough and tumble scene still included, because that's on the reconstruction, and being able to watch that, I enjoyed that. It's very amusing. Excuse me. So that's my thoughts on the Macra reconstruction. I want to thank Alice for that. I always enjoy it. There have been several of the reconstructions that I might not have watched if she hadn't suggested that I do them, or if she hadn't requested that I do them. And I've enjoyed all of the reconstructions I've seen that I can think of from animations. So I really appreciate her suggesting those. If you would like to have a video request of something you'd like me to do, there is a link to my Patreon down in the description below. Usually at, I think it's the $10 tier and up, my patrons get video request every month. But anyone who joins at any tier level gets one free video request. I also have a P.O. box if there's anything you would like to send me. That's down in the description as well, as is a link to my Amazon wishlist and my Amazon UK wishlist. But if nothing else, if you have a moment, I would just appreciate you clicking that like button, clicking that subscribe button. That helps me out. That helps me out with the YouTube algorithm, and that helps me grow the channel, which I very much appreciate. Most importantly, though, thank you for watching.